Week 18 here in the books. We got a great lesson. We got great lessons this week. It's going to be a bit of a longer video, just because all these lessons I think are really, really good. And I think I've taken away a lot from them, even though they're not the biggest losses I've had. So yeah, I just want to get to it. I'm going to try to keep it concise, but I do think there's a lot of info in this. So started the week off here with DARE, D-A-R-E. This was capping up and running on licensing news, like licensing a new drug that had phase 2 results out. And I know phase 2 results is good news, and it means a potential buy for sure. But the problem that I just looked at phase 2 and I was like, okay, I'm going to look for a buy. I didn't read the news concisely to know that they were licensing a drug. So it wasn't even their drug. That could have been a little bit of a hype coming up here. But I knew enough not to chase it up here in the highs, so I didn't want to get in on a dip. And we can just pull the multi-day chart. We can see, I mean, it broke out. Clear pattern breaker. If we do look, it doesn't really hold its tops. And I mean, it can run with volume. You can see back here, it only had like 3 million, and it went from the 5s to the 11s. Pretty crazy. But so on this day, I'm going to be drawing a lot of these trend lines here, because that's some of the stuff I look at. Not regression. So it failed morning little spike thing up there. And then we have this downward price action, and I saw pacing. So what I wanted to do, my mentality was for it to come back up to the highs, and so I was buying right here at 264 on this dip, on the bounce off the dip. Sorry, because it was holding this support here, and then I thought it could ramp up. It was holding just higher. That was my mindset. I actually ended up cutting, I think, somewhere in here in the 57s. Actually, I think it was... Yeah, so, well, I lost. Long story short, I need to be patient. Okay, first off, I got to read the news and know exactly what's going on. Second, I shouldn't have really been buying midday unless it's a super low float. And this thing isn't... It's volatile, but it's not terribly volatile where... you know it's a low float and it can just run. It's not that. So if it's not that, you're trying to play at midday, you shouldn't be doing that. You should wait for a breakout over these bounce highs in the afternoon. So kind of all around, couple of bad things. I don't like this a good idea for price action in terms of following it, but big mistake was didn't understand the news. Second one was trading midday without clear midday catalysts. That was DARE. ZN. ZN was definitely frustrating. I nailed it though in terms of thesis-wise. Midday spiked up, had SEC filings, and then a PR about them finding oil. Spiked up, got halted, then it was coming down here, and all in here I was thinking ABCD pattern, and what stuck out to me the most was the KODK spike that did the same thing, and I was thinking KODK, and that might have just messed me up in the long run. Just getting to fantasize about how perfect that pattern was. So I was buying on this higher low here. I was getting in at 298, roughly around this section. Okay, and I was risking this low. So my position wasn't terribly big because. I mean, that's somewhat of a 20 cents, roughly a little less than 10%, pretty big for me, so not a huge position. And it was going through here, all this uptrend, and I was thinking that it spiked so fast, it has this news, the news of, is evidence of oil. I don't know if I said that before, it's evidence, so it wasn't actually finding oil, and you never know if it's good enough oil for commercial use. But I really thought that news would be, if it wasn't good in the long run, it would be enough hype to really ramp it up. And so we see this high here at 350-ish. from the initial spike, and it just couldn't get here. This price action was grinding up penny by penny. Then you can see these big tails. Like, yes, it did have dip buyers coming in, but then, I mean, it was just looking weak. And I actually got out here, all out at 336. I didn't like it. And I think I was reliant too much on KODK being so perfect, and it had a quick spike right after here, so it was like, it just went up like this. This is taking a long time. We are a little earlier in the day, and coupled with, I got away from my thesis. My thesis was to hold, sell half into the parabolic, then sell the other half into either pre-market or after hours when it continues to spike up following KODK. And I got influenced by someone saying that this is not that big of a deal because it's evidence for one of finding oil, and it probably wasn't going to be commercial use oil. And I'm just like, well, if this thing isn't really doing much, not too volatile in this time, and I heard that, I just thought, play it safe. So I took my roughly 10%. I really wish I would have stuck to my plan. Slight regret there. I do like the single I'm taking, but I really can't get influenced when I have all the facts in the beginning, and I have a thesis, and then, I mean, it's not even like this was close to my risk at all, and it wasn't even close to close. We're coming up on 3 o'clock here, power hour, and I sold it because I wanted to lock it in. Lo and behold, about 15-20 minutes later, we get exactly what I wanted. And I wouldn't have been holding up here. I probably would have sold maybe half in here. And then, I mean, like I said, I wanted to sell the other in after hours. But I might have been getting out of here. It would have been a significantly more profit. But I do like the fact that I was on the right track here. I think I kind of have this pattern not down, but definitely a much better understanding of kind of how to play these. So that was good. Never hit my risk, never got below my buy point, and I don't think it actually never got below my sell point. So, I mean, I was wrong, but it is what it is, and moving on. So, but that was a pretty cool play. I'm glad I found it, or I'm glad I committed to buying it here and not taking forever, because it could have spiked up here, and I'm glad I saw the potential and got in. So that was one of my good trades. NSPR, this was a bad thought process on this. Getting in here at 614. This was, it gapped up and it kind of uptrend pre-market here on earnings. So it's an earnings winner. Had a quick spike, failed morning spike, coming down. Same thing we kind of saw in DARE, where we can kind of just draw a trend line here, hitting the tops, and you can see then the trend reversal coming up here. And this is a relatively low float, and it's got big swings on a minute. So you can see this red candle here. You can go from 670 all the way down to 620-ish. It can move, and knowing that it is an earnings winner, so it has potential. I was thinking this basically the same thing as DARE, that I just want to buy it on this dip midday, and then think like it can go back up here. And the same thing that went wrong. I know earnings winners aren't really working, yet I still played this in the hopes that it would ramp up really quickly. I don't know why I thought that, and I actually got out for another loss in the 596 area. This was definitely a good loss for me to know what's in play. Yes, earnings winners have a good catalyst, but you got to remember the market you're in. And in this market right now, they have not been working. Number two is, why am I buying an earnings winner or just a news catalyst in midday again? The big thing I pointed out to myself was it's green, yes, because it had the gap up, but it's not green from the open price. It's red on the intraday. And coupled with this price action, yes, it's a trend reversal here, but it's not enough to constitute a buy midday. Not enough at all. I really got to pay attention more to my my time of day and what I'm trading and the catalyst for it. Again, this is just the day chart here. 592 or 596 was support, or 6-ish, I guess you could say. And that's what I was using. Whoops, I don't need that line. And that's what I was using as my support here. So I was getting it up here. I think it could ramp, risking off this 6-ish, 595 area, and ended up getting out here. Again, I'm doing well on my trade plans, pretty much sticking to them, besides ZN, but sticking to them. But I think I gotta make better plans in terms of time of day, taking into account time of day, catalyst, float, market cap, all that stuff. But I'm definitely recognizing these losses as great lessons. And the last great lesson was BTSC. So I was playing it here on this day. I was buying it into the close. You can see on just this day, and it didn't get much volume, didn't get too much volatility, but it was holding roughly this 11 cent level. Came back and forth, but I mean, the average price here I think was about 11 in terms of volume and all that stuff. So when I was holding 11, I bought into the close at 1-on-1. And to see more reason why, I want to go to let's go to the 14-day, like a 10-15 minute. We'll go 15. Yeah, let's go 10. Because I want to show you all the support it has from previous days. So again, I was buying it up here in the 11s when it pulled back into the close. Yes, I realized I didn't have strength really into the close, but I didn't mind that because look at all the support. You got support here, roughly 11-ish. You got support here, 11-ish. You got this is a little lower, but this run is roughly 11-ish, and my risk, I should say, was in the 60s, 1065 to 70-ish. It wasn't too exact, but because this support isn't technically exact, but yeah, it had all this right here, coupled with the fact of higher lows, coupled with the fact of, I also want to point out Bitcoin. So Bitcoin here, if you can see it, made a low of cracking 6,000, 5,900 here, and bouncing up. And I thought this was really somewhat significant, this crack over the bounce highs. So it was up here when I was buying it, and I figured that it could keep running. I mean, it's not a great catalyst, but it being hot and breaking those highs, and I should also mention, I was buying it here on the Friday into the close, so the next day was Friday, and I thought it could spike. All those added together, I did think it could do something. It couldn't. Long story short, I'm going to be cutting overnight holds out of my trading patterns, except if it's a number 5 pattern. I just haven't been. I know some people can do it, but I just haven't been having that luck with overnight holds, and I want to get off the reason why or when I sold, because you see, okay, buying at 11. At the open, it had a crazy drop that I couldn't even get out of my risk, roughly in here. It dropped from 11 down to 950, and that is over a 10% drop. And seeing it down here, this is in roughly the high 9s, low 10s. It was, yeah, this low here, and I saw all this, a ton of support, and my thinking was this. It has all the support here, it's down already, and Bitcoin wasn't crashing, this didn't have any bad news, so I'm like, this thing has to bounce. So it was bouncing, and you know, I could have got out where I wanted to originally and lost a lot less, but for some reason I got in my mind that this thing could retest the open, which was a stupid thought. But I luckily, I didn't like the price action here on the uptrend, so I actually got out here at roughly 36. So I did cut it. I did get a better exit than I could have if I just cut at the bottom here. So I did like my exit in planning, but I will be a lot more skeptical about taking overnights because I know my luck with it. Last trade I want to get into, MPRX. This was also a pretty good plan execution for me. So I was trading this on the 15th there, and it came out with positive drug news, and you can see it gapped up and had this pre-market spike. And so this is the 15th, and we want to see it on a multi-day. Let me go to... So, yeah, you can see this major gap up here. And well, I'm looking at support now. I'm looking at resistance. You can see this resistance. Oh, sorry, let's go back here. This resistance at roughly 250. It's got a decent amount of 8 million volume. And 340 here. And if we zoom in, we don't want to look at this red candle too much because the volume is less. But on this green candle, you can say 338. Okay, so we got 338, we got 324, and then 250. Okay, so I'm immediately looking for that. And also, if we want to look, about 350, 346 is where this had resistance for that first spike. It ended up breaking it, coming down, and I was looking at this level and I wanted to buy it on a dip right at 250. It did it. The only reason I didn't buy here was, one, is the first minute, so I thought it could really go either way. This low float stock that the spreads move so fast. The stock is very volatile, and I couldn't get an entry. Well, sorry, I could have gotten an entry, but I was scared that it would drop out from under me and I couldn't get out. And I thought that was too big of a risk for me to take the reward. So I didn't get there and I waited. So again, like I said, 320 was the level, but here you can see I had big sellers at 3. So then I'm thinking the next place of resistance is about 3, which is roughly like these highs you can argue in here. So I didn't buy the initial breakout. I bought the confirmed breakout on this red candle and got in a pretty good entry at 305. I was proud of myself for getting in there. Could have been because I missed this other dip buy. But this confirmed breakout, I'm ramping up. And what I saw in here, so if you go back and look at this, roughly 336, I think I said, right on this candle back here, was resistance. And you gotta think that all these shorts are gonna be just trying to pummel this down because they don't want to be underwater. But the buyers, the dip buyers, kept it up, and it kept testing this 330 level, and that was key level for me. And I thought I could break it because it had this higher lows again. If we want to draw, I don't think we need to. But so then finally, this candle, you can see the volume increase. It broke 330, and where did it get? It got to 333, and that with immediate we're gonna handle back down. I also just should say I did sell half here because I couldn't break out on the second try. So I did get out half here, then I wanted to be patient on the rest. And I was like, once it breaks 330, it should be able to run. Broke 330, big buyers broke it through, and then immediately got back down. So now I'm thinking, well, if it broke out there, I mean, there's got to be even more sellers in the 34s, 35s, 36s. And then, yeah, so then I think it tried to bounce again here. And I thought, well, maybe this is the last try. Got pummeled again. I'm like, no, I'm out. So I got the rest out there. All in all, a safe trade. And I was actually right in terms of it did crash. So my exit for roughly a single was correct. And it's because of this resistance right here. It was trading it's got 35 million resistance in volume. And at the time, this was not that much at all. Probably maybe 10, 12 million at that time. So, long story short, I like this trade. I was being safe because based on price action and level 2 here, got a win for myself. All in all, I am green on the week, and I want to implement these loss learning tips or facts, I don't know what you want to call it, but into next week, and hopefully you guys can learn a little bit too. Biggest things for me was understand the news I'm trading and understand the time of day. Don't be trying to buy dips when it's right on the day, midday, because that's got low odds. Wait for that afternoon or wait for the morning if it's a low float and you got breakout over resistance. So hope you guys all had a great week, and good luck to everyone next week, and hopefully the markets continue to do well for us.